Well, they say small things create big miracles. Well, what we're talking about today might look very insignificant in terms of its size, but has significantly changed the lives of millions of people across the world, including a lot of renowned people in India and across the world. Let's take a look at this.
One of the things I was very scared of needles, and whenever you go to a hospital, I was always scared that the doctor will recommend me syringes and needles and injections. So my favorite was going to a homeopathic doctor.
मेरे मामी ने ख़ास तौर से होम्योपैथी प्रैक्टिस की है. मेरे नाना भी मतलब एक्चुअली होम्योपैथ नहीं थे लेकिन उसी में बिलीव करते थे और इसलिए बचपन से होम्योपैथी से हमारा रिश्ता जुड़ा हुआ है.
Well, yes, we are talking about homeopathy today, and to do this, I am joined by a man who's responsible and is seen as the man behind the revolution of homeopathy in the country. He's also a man who recognized the benefits of homeopathy much before a lot of people even knew about it. Today, he is the founder chairman of the world's largest homeopathic chains in the world. And his company is a true Indian corporate company which has spread its wings across the world with only one aspiration: healing people, changing lives. With immense pleasure, I would like to introduce our guest of honor today, Padma Shri recipient Dr. Mukesh Batra. Thank you so much for joining us, sir, and taking out your precious time to really talk to us and help us understand this fascinating world of homeopathy.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Before I really get to the technical aspects of homeopathy and the myths surrounding it, why don't we trace it back to the origins? And as you were telling me before we started the show, that a lot of people believe that homeopathy has Indian origins, but it's actually not true.
Well, it's not actually, because homeopathy is a German science. It's evolved from Germany. Its founder was Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, who was an MD doctor during his time. And it came to India through the court of Maharaja Ranjit Singh through a French doctor. And that's the first time when it came to India, and then the missionaries made it popular, and then it went all over.
Right. So it's actually not Indian, but it is very famous in India as well. How did that come about?
Well, it is famous because the Indian government supports it very much. And like I said, the missionaries kind of built it, and they kind of used it all over in charitable clinics, and that's how it got popular. Also, there's a misconception that it's an ancient science, and it's actually not an ancient science. It's one of the youngest science. It's only 220 years old.
Okay. Homeopathy is not restricted to its popularity in India anymore. It has also spread its wings across the globe. How popular is homeopathy, say, across the world now?
Well, across the world, it's now a 26,300 crore market. So it's really very large. It's growing around 25 to 30% back to back for the last 5 years. So it's growing 3 times as much as pharma industry. According to World Health Organization, is the second largest system of medicine in the world, even though it's the youngest. More than 50 crore people use homeopathy all over the world. It's legally practiced in over 80 countries of the world. And let me tell you that France is the largest country in the world for homeopathy in terms of figures, turnover. The second highest is Germany, and then England, and then comes India. In England, almost 42% of all British doctors recommend their patients for homeopathy. It's also part of the NHS for a long time, and the royal family supports it. As a matter of fact, the Queen Mother would never go anywhere, travel nowhere in the world without her black box of white pills, and that kept her going till 100 years old.
Does homeopathy have any side effects, or is it completely, without any side effects?
I think before we come to side effects, let me also tell you a little bit about the homeopathic market in India.
Sure.
The homeopathic market in India is 2,800 crores, and it's used by over 10 crore people, which means that 1/5 of the world market in terms of number of usage, it comes from India.
Correct.
There are 200,000, that is 2 lakh homeopathic doctors in India, which is among the largest in the world. Every year, 12,000 new homeopathic doctors pass out from about 190 universities, which are affiliated, to university, colleges which are affiliated to universities. An IMRB study, which was done recently in April this year, showed that 100% of people in India, in the 7 major cities, are aware of homeopathy as a category. 59% of such people moved to homeopathy in the last 1 year. And 77% of people said that they would use homeopathy for their long-term benefits. So I would say that in India, homeopathy is very, very well recognized.
Correct.
The, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has actually made sure that there's a separate Ayush ministry, and there's approximately around 4,000 crores that have been sanctioned only for homeopathy this year to promote it. So there's a lot of promotion, research, and welfare programs that are being conducted around homeopathy in India. And so India, it's very, very, very popular.
Correct. Going back to the question, it's also very popular among young children. We see a lot of parents actually depending on homeopathy for their younger children.
So I think one of the reasons why people are turning to homeopathy all over the world, and also why people are turning to homeopathy in India as well, and also for young children, is because of its safety. Just to give an example, every day 300 people die in America of something which is called iatrogenic disorders, which is a reaction to drugs, chemical drugs. Now can you imagine, this is equivalent to one Boeing crash every day, and yet nobody talks about it. So I think today people are becoming still aware, and they're now moving into safer and holistic forms of treatment, and homeopathy is one of them.
Sir, as I was saying in my introduction, you were one of the first few people who really recognized the benefits of homeopathy. I believe it's been a long journey now. So were you always interested, or was this a childhood dream, or did it actually take a number of years to actually pursue this?
My parents were both doctors. My mother was one of the first MBBS doctors in the country from Lady Harding, and my father was a homeopathic doctor. So the easiest thing to do was really to get into medicine. And I belong to a family of doctors, so all my family, my in-laws, I mean, all of them are doctors, so much so that every time when we have dinner, it's like a medical conference. So we really don't need to go to a medical conference. All you have to do is organize a dinner at home.
Right.
So that was really the easiest thing to do.
Right.
And once I went into medical college, I realized that it's a very exacting profession. I realized that you have to do anatomy, surgery, gynec, medicine, all of that, what everybody else does. And together with that, you also have to study homeopathic subjects. So it's a very demanding profession.
Right.
And it grew with me over the years. In college, I saw the amazing results that, I saw patients getting all right, and I saw them really suffering from so many incurable diseases and then responding very positively to homeopathic treatment. And that's where I really got attracted. And then, of course, I had seen also my father cure a lot of patients. And, then gradually that kind of thing grew, and I really, really became very, very passionate about homeopathy.
The empire that you have today is not restricted to just India, but it's also spread its wings across the globe. Was it really difficult? Were there certain challenges when you decided to move across the globe?
What we have in different countries is, first of all, there's a challenge to build the category.
Correct.
Because it's not necessarily that homeopathy it's known, but is it actually accepted or practiced everywhere is a challenge. The second thing is that we also have to then develop the brand. So while all Indians know the brand very well, and so we actually start catering to NRIs, but once we establish ourselves, then we start getting people across board.
Right.
So for example, when we started Dubai, we had mainly NRIs, but today almost 30% of the population is varied. We have 10% of Arabs, we have 20% of people coming from all Eastern European countries who live over there, and foreigners as well. And similarly in London, since we've just opened 3 clinics this year, actually, we just about a year over there. We are still finding our way, and most of our clients there are the Indian population, but it's giving me great satisfaction that they are not denied the choice of treatment which they had in the country.
Right.
So the fact that they have a choice and they can actually choose a system of medicine which they used in their country, and the fact, for example, in London that we are offering it to them at £1 per day, something very cost effective, allows people, more and more people then to turn to homeopathy and to use our services.
Right. Is it difficult to really break the barrier overseas? As you said, like a lot of your clients are still the Indian population. What are the challenges in terms of getting it or spreading it to a wider audience?
I think number one is education.
Right.
Because you have to make people aware that this is something which is necessary, and it has its advantages. Number two is, of course, a lot of people have a closed mindset because they are brought up thinking about chemical medicine and brought up about making sure they go to hospitals and they get injected, otherwise they don't feel good about it. Right. Also when the government pays for all your treatment, right, that's another challenge, because it's very difficult for then people to spend out of pocket, because they get so used to healthcare services which are free to them. I think these are all challenges, that we have to face and overcome. And I think a lot of other cultural challenges as well, because, I mean, to be very honest, when you start, people internationally don't actually trust an Indian brand, and
Right.
it takes time to get, credibility. So credibility is also a big thing for an Indian brand, especially when they are abroad among foreigners.
Well, time to slip into a very short break. But on the other side, also, we will continue this very interesting conversation with Dr. Mukesh Batra. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. We're still in conversation with Dr. Mukesh Batra, who has been educating us and telling us about these multiple fascinating facts about the world of homeopathy. So we've spoken enough about the international footprint, but let's come back home and talk about the India reach. Why don't you tell us a little more about your India businesses?
Well, in India, our homeopathic footprint is very strong.
Right.
And I'm very happy that, in the last many years that we've been here, we've able to actually create a lot of market share. A lot of homeopathy in India is unorganized, and only 10% of it is organized.
Right.
But we own more than 50% of the organized sector, and that's saying a lot. So we today have 241 clinics in India, and we are today across 131 cities of India. So, we have a presence in Tier 2, Tier 3 cities as well. We treat over 15 lakh patients, so far, and we treat about 175,000 patients every month. So we had an academy then, which we started 2 years ago, and Dr. Batra's academy has tied up with the Mumbai University Health Sciences. So it's one of the few kind of private-public partnerships for fellowship courses in dermatology. So MD doctors in homeopathy who have done a minimum of 10 years of training then can qualify for this course. And it's a 1-year fellowship course. We conduct the course. We have a 22-member faculty, and on behalf of the Mumbai University. And at the end of 1 year, then the Mumbai University gives the certificate. So this way, we make sure that we bring in a lot of quality education into the system. We've just post-graduated 33 students or 32 doctors, if I may say that, in fellowship last year. And not only this is not restricted only to this, but the academy also invites and gets people from all over the world, homeopathic doctors. We've already had 2 groups of Brazilian doctors who've come and done their course with us and then gone back. So then our best practices, our processes and systems then get carried forward through other doctors in other countries as well. So while we are not directly available in those countries, but through education, we are spreading our wings and our impact also in other countries.
What are the other things that you guys are now focusing on? Is there new initiatives that are in the pipeline that you would like to tell us about?
Well, what we've done is, again, through homeopathy, because we want to make sure that that impact is there in everything that we do. We've also done 2 more things that I'd like to talk about.
Sure.
One is pet care.
Yes, I was reading about that.
3 years ago, we set up an animal hospital in South Delhi.
Right.
And it's a veterinary hospital.
Right.
And it also has a homeopathic division.
Okay.
So today, even pets have a choice.
Right.
In the sense if they don't want to get operated, and there are some things that don't need operations, we have a grooming center, we have a pet shop, we have a surgeon over there, we have an operation theatre, but we also have homeopathic treatment.
Right.
So a lot of today people also prefer that their pets should not undergo pain and suffering, and they opt for homeopathy. Sometimes even as a first choice. Do you know that in UK, 50% of veterinary doctors use homeopathy, but this concept is not known in India. So we are the first ones to bring this about in India, homeopathy in pet care. And we are happy that this is also something that is taking root and will grow in the future. Yeah, another initiative, is our media company. We have a registered newspaper, which is like a magazine, which is called Homeopathy and You. And for the last 3 years, we come out with it every month. Now, this is really to educate people on homeopathy. It's also for the layperson, not necessarily for doctors. So it reaches out to lots of people all across, and there's also a kind of a general health section as well. So it's all about natural living and homeopathy. And I'm happy to say that we've been running this successfully for the last 3 years, and we're able to reach many more people and make them understand really how homeopathy works.
Right. Another facet that's been added to your big empire, and that's been I remember seeing a few products of Dr. Batra in a mall a few days back. So you've entered the products market. Why don't you tell us about that?
We have over 51 products now. We started this a few years ago, One of our CEOs, who's the group CEO, actually worked with a multinational company earlier.
Correct.
It was his passion to start an FMCG product. So while we had made these products earlier for our patients in the clinic, for the last few years we are now into the open market, and we are into hair care products like shampoos, conditioners, and so on, hair serums. We are into skin care products like face wash, skin creams, and we are also into personal care products like deodorants and soaps and things like that.
Right.
So we are presently in around 6,000 outlets.
Right.
So like you said, in all the big malls, in
Right.
all the big pharmacies, also in a lot of the government stores, they're keeping our products. And we are also available in Dubai in about 200 outlets. And we
Right.
hope that this will grow international, and we'll be adding many more products to our range in the next few years.
Right. Very, very fascinating. So before I end, I also want to understand about the foundation that is very close to your heart. Why don't you tell us about that?
15, 16 years ago, I set up the foundation.
Correct.
The idea was at that time that, and I set up actually a model much before CSR became fashionable,
Correct.
if I may use that word.
Yeah.
So I set up a model wherein we give 1% of whatever we earn to charity. So it's a 1% model.
Right.
1% of the net profit of the company goes for charity. 1% of our employee salaries goes towards charity voluntarily, and 1% of our big projects goes towards charity. So we don't have to ask for money from outside. And the whole idea is, and the purpose of is that to create wealth is to share wealth. Right. So the more we create, the more we can share, the more we can reach out.
Right.
So towards this, today we treat about 20,000 patients free lifelong. Through about 100 free clinics that we run. So every city where we are, we run a free clinic where anybody can walk in and take lifelong treatment, no questions asked. Other than that, we've tied up with local NGOs, with animal centers in Delhi, for example, with Menaka Gandhi's, Sanjay Gandhi Animal Center, where we treat around 3,000, strays and, animals who've been abandoned with homeopathic treatment.
Right.
And with old age homes across multiple cities, and also with the less advantaged, like the physically challenged and the mentally challenged people.
Right.
So we have some kind of joint projects with them, and my doctors go there and they treat them lifelong.
Right.
The other thing that we do also is that we have something called the Positive Hill Awards, one of them which is now coming around the corner. It's going to be our 10th year. We have Bajaj's support in it, and they kind of support us as well. So it's a program that we have for the disadvantaged, who actually then contribute to society. I'm happy to say that some of our winners, and this is now our 10th year,
Right.
so I'm happy to say that some of our winners have gone ahead and done very, very well for themselves. We had a girl called Gauri Gadgil, on whom a Marathi movie was made. We had Arunima Sinha, who's a double amputee, climbed Mount Everest, and she got a Padma Shri recently. We had Lakshmi, who's a burn victim, and she did the London Fashion Walk.
Yes.
And then we had Deepa Malik, whom we honored many years ago through this, and now she's a Para-Olympic champion. So I think it gives us great satisfaction to honor such people and to bring them out, and I'm very happy that they get recognized. And finally, I think what I'd like to also say is that I also use my personal talent for charity.
Sure.
I do photography,
Interesting.
and it's almost my 10th year of my exhibitions as well,
Right.
at the NCP at the Tatas.
Right.
And all the money that we collect goes to a blind school.
Very, very.
And similarly, every year I sing for charity. I sing old songs of Muhammad Rafi, Manade, and all of that, and for an old age home.
Right.
And then whatever money we collect there goes to an old age home. And these old ladies, they come and they actually dance in the aisles.
How
So it's
interesting.
really fabulous. And I think to end this show, I'd like to hum for you
Why not? Please go ahead, sir.
2 lines
Sure.
of a song, of a vision that I have for this world.
Sure.
One of Kishore Kumar's song.
Sure.
And it's a song that I sing for my grandson Riman, and I wish that the world would be like that.
Sure.
आ चल के तुझे मैं लेके चलूं एक ऐसे गगन के तले जहाँ गम भी न हो आंसू भी न हो बस प्यार ही प्यार पले एक ऐसे गगन के तले एक ऐसे गगन के तले एक ऐसे गगन के तले.
Well, sir, on that musical note, I'd really like to thank you for taking our time, educating us and telling us about so many fascinating facts about this world of homeopathy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.